Welcome back to Books with Duddy. Back with another spoiler-free review. And it's a little bit different today because I'm doing an entire trilogy all as one. And that is the I Kill Killers series. I was a little bit torn on even whether to start this series, to be honest, because it just seemed like such a Dexter knockoff. There are definitely similarities, but ultimately I think this series is able to carve out its own path. So this will be a spoiler-free review. Let's get into it. So, with the title, I Kill Killers, at least for the first book, you can probably surmise a little bit of the plot. We start with Leah, who is a serial killer. Similar to Dexter, she only targets bad people. But she is not a part of a police force, and in fact, she is a world-famous pianist. In fact, the book makes it seem like she might be the best the world has ever seen, or at least a generational type of talent with the piano. So that's obviously going to be a part of the books, is her juggling, we'll say, her nightlife with what she is well known for. One of the biggest differences that I found between this series and Dexter, at least the beginning of Dexter, like the first few seasons, or at least the first season, was that in almost every episode that I remember, at least, Dexter was killing somebody. And this series is not like that. The kills are much more sparse, although we definitely do see Leah kill people, but it's just more sparse. There's a lot of focus on the in-between, as I said, her juggling her life. And ultimately, one of the overarching themes throughout the books is another specific serial killer that Leah has been trying to track down, known as the train track killer. And this is someone who puts people on train tracks, like ties them down, and then lets the train do their work. So I like that. Although all of the books, I would say, have a satisfying conclusion, there was always a bigger overarching plot that I wanted to read more. That was both a good thing for me, but also the author has said with the last book in the trilogy, and I honestly can't remember the names of the book 2 and 3, something like We Hunt Killers or something like that. But that ending was left a little bit open-ended. Again, satisfying conclusion. But I wish the author would have, had more conviction in that the author has said that she purposefully, left things so that maybe she would return someday to the series. And I personally don't like that. Like, I want something to be wrapped up nice and tidy. And I know that's like a me thing, but just something to think about. Now, one of the other things that goes on in these books is the FBI. Leah has some ties into the FBI, but there's one agent in particular who is a little bit on Leah's trail. And his name is Liam Richter. And so throughout, and I'm going to say with the first book kind of from now on, because I think all of the books are very similar in their structure and just the way that they're written. But Liam finds someone who Leah killed. And somehow all signs keep pointing back to Leah, this world-famous pianist. And kind of nobody believes him, but he's still hot on her trail. And so there's that cat and mouse game throughout these books as well. And as far as Leah goes, I really liked Leah's character. I don't, maybe that's weird because she's like a psychopath, but she's very pragmatic. You know, she has the typical no emotion type of thing going on, although she yearns for it. And there is some weird, I don't know, sexual stuff, I guess. I don't know if weird's the right word, but Leah's attitude towards relationships of a sexual nature I found to be a little odd, but I don't know. Maybe it's just hard for me to think that way. And we do get more than just Leah's point of view. We get Liam's point of view, and I liked Liam a lot as well when we got to see his point of view. He was a very by the book FBI agent who ultimately wants to do the right thing. And so, as you can probably guess with this series as well, one of the themes is, you know, a moral gray area. Similar to Dexter, you know, where he's taking out these terrible people, but does he get to be judge, jury, and executioner? You know, that's a question above my pay grade. There were things in this book that, or at least in these books, throughout all of them, that happened that I felt like were supposed to be moral gray areas, and I don't know. To me, some of them weren't. I can think of one in particular, but like I also said, you know, it's tough to also say, as I said with Dexter, somebody gets to be judge, jury, and executioner. So, I don't know. As far as the pacing, these books flew by for me. That's kind of why I'm doing the whole series at once. Yeah, I mean, they're not super long books. I think maybe 250 pages each. But there was always tension, whether that be, you know, someone Leah was hunting, or Leah getting hunted by someone, or, you know, even Leah's music career, and there's just always tension around. And for me, tension keeps me reading. So these books flew by. They're not a long read. You know, that reminded me of something like a Frida McFadden book. Not in like the way that the twists and turns go, but at least for me, when I read a Frida McFadden book, they go quickly because I'm constantly wondering what's next. Each book is tightly written. There's not a lot of fluff. But I also did feel like I got to know the characters that I needed to get to know in order for there to be impact in the events that were occurring. As far as criticisms go, I kind of already mentioned it earlier, but Leah has this weird thing with escorts that I just found to be a little bit odd, especially given her status in the world. And as you can imagine, probably she's described as very beautiful, and that was just a weird thing to me. I mean, again, that's like such a minor criticism, but it was just something that stuck out to me as odd. Other than that, I don't really have a lot of criticisms. It was just a solid book series. And even though I don't like that the author left it open-ended without knowing whether she would ever go back, I would certainly read the next book in the series if it does come out. So while I don't think this reinvents the wheel of any thrillers, if you enjoy these types of books, thrillers, I think this will be a solid series for your time. Overall, I'm going to give the series a 7.9 out of 10. You'll see my rating scale up there. 8s and up, I think, are for books that I just found fantastic. And I'll be honest, I think my scale has gotten a little bit harder as I've done more reviews. I like the Housemaid series. I think I had 2 of those books in the mid 8s, and I did enjoy those books, but I think they're probably closer to this book in score. But anyways, that's just rambling. So let me know what your thoughts are on this book if you've read it, spoiler free in these comments. Depending on when you're watching this, I will have a full spoiler discussion video coming out either shortly or it's already out. So if you want to talk spoilers or hear my thoughts on those, look for that video. But if you watched this long, I appreciate that. And if you could like and subscribe, I'd appreciate that. And I hope to see y'all soon.